The sneak peek for Boruto to Vortex chapter 13 is out, and it's crazy how many questions are answered by just a single page. For context, this scene being shared to us is the much needed flashback of Boruto's first meeting with Kashin Koji that we've all been craving. As far as the placement within the chapter goes, it's kinda hard to say for sure just based on this image, but I feel like they're just gonna start the chapter with the flashback like they did in chapter 5, since it's probably the easiest place to transition into the flashback, and it also directly links back to the end of the previous chapter, just like how the chapter 5 flashback links back to the end of chapter 4, where we got the reveal that Sasuke turned into a tree which formed a divine tree creature, who we know to be Hidari. Then in the next chapter we got the flashback of how and when Sasuke became that tree. I see something very similar happening here, where at the end of chapter 12 we got the reveal that Kashin Koji is the source of all of Boruto's information, including knowledge on the Thorn Soul bulbs, information that Jura declared to be dangerous. So then in chapter 13, we could start the chapter by showing us how and when Boruto got all of this information from Kashin Koji, and if we're lucky, we might even get to see how and when Kashin Koji acquired this information himself, though I can definitely see them holding off on that last part for a bit longer. But anyway, as I said earlier, the actual content of this page holds a lot of answers to some of our questions. So the first is the nature of Boruto and Koji's first meeting. From the looks of it, one of Kashin Koji's toads approached Boruto and began to speak to him, hilariously similar to when Gamamaru approached Hagoromo and Hamura in the Hagoromo filler arc, where that toad probably said some vague things about Boruto or the Ten Tails that intrigued him enough to agree to follow that toad back home. Also hilariously similar to Gamamaru in the Hagoromo filler arc, as while he looks surprised by the location he was summoned to, Boruto does not look as though he feels attacked, cornered, tricked, or anything like that. I'll discuss the location itself later on, but unlike the Gamamaru filler arc, this toad is not real. It's actually a scientific ninja tool, which I think makes a lot of sense given how these toads function as cameras, walkie-talkies, bombs, and whatnot, but I do have to wonder if that giant toad, the steam toad, is actually a gigantic scientific ninja tool too, or if that one is a real toad that's just become a cyborg toad, while the little ones are just ninja tools that were modeled after the big one. I think that would be cool, it would make a lot of sense in my opinion. Now given that Koji said, structurally, it's the same as a toad, but is artificially made, I will also mention that it's possible that these toads are all clones of another toad, probably the big giant steam toad in that case, rather than just pure machine android toads created by Amato, as though it still fit in line with them being structurally the same as a toad but artificially made, as is exactly what Mitsuki is, structurally the same as a human, but artificially made by Orochimaru. Either way could really work, and in either case, I just want to know how many of these sticking toads Amato or Koji made and where they're being stored, because Koji summons these guys left and right and blows them out willy-nilly all the time, so he's obviously not concerned about running out of them anytime soon. What's also interesting is a random detail that we already knew but is being directly stated on this page, is that Kashin Koji can remotely control these toads with his chakra, can speak through them, and can even see through them. Exactly like the 6 pass technique that Naruto used for his 6 pass of pain. So what I want to know is how Koji does this, because this guy clearly does not have a Rinnegan, and he has never used the Black Rod's technique that's needed for the 6 pass technique that Naruto used, and there's clearly no Black Rods anywhere on these toads either. So I would really like an actual explanation for how he does this, though I won't be surprised if we never get it. Now in the next panel, it's displayed to us that Boruto does not recognize Kashin Koji from their encounter in the Out arc. Now I'll cut Boruto some slack for not recognizing Kashin Koji's voice or his general appearance without the mask, but it is a little funny that Boruto didn't recognize this toad as the one the mysterious man from Kara used against Team 7 in the Out arc, as it's identical to the giant toad that killed Ao and the little toad that set Konohamaru on fire. Not to mention the mysterious man himself with the same hairstyle, beard, cloak, and voice as before. But maybe the experience of activating the Karma Seal completely for the first time outweighed his memory of everything else from that day. What makes this especially funny though, is that Kashin Koji seemingly recognized Boruto, whether it's Boruto Uzumaki or Boruto from Kara, despite Boruto having a new outfit, a new hairstyle, being taller, and probably having a deeper voice, so he's making Boruto look pretty bad in this regard. And I'm not saying this is some awful thing by the way, I just find it a little bit funny. More importantly though, since it appears as though Kashin Koji sought Boruto out, unless he just ran into Boruto by chance at the Sasuke tree or something, I'm very curious as to why Koji was looking for Boruto specifically, and I'm very curious whether Koji thinks of Boruto as Jigen's former vessel in Kara, or if he thinks of Boruto as Naruto Uzumaki's son, especially in light of his search for Boruto. I imagine that this will probably relate to however Kashin Koji acquired all of his info, which is still a mystery, as well as what that actual info is, but it's something to wonder about. Another possibility is that Koji just heard about the Boruto betrayal situation and thought he could use an Otsutsuki's help to save the world, so he searched for Boruto because of that. But I feel like there's more to it than just that. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Now, a small detail I thought was pretty funny was Boruto's design here. If you actually pay attention, not only is Boruto wearing Sasuke's cloak, which looks a little big on him in this panel, but he's also copied Sasuke's hairstyle almost exactly. And I'll be the one to say that I'm glad Boruto cut his hair and got himself his own unique outfit, because this just looks goofy on Boruto. I love it for Boruto's character to initially copy Sasuke's style. Maybe he really was referring to Sasuke's drip when he said he mastered the Uchiha style in chapter 5, but I want him to have his own style later on as he does, because not only does this Sasuke style look goofy on Boruto, his whole point at the beginning of part 1 was that he was gonna write his own story, not copy Sasuke's story verbatim, and his whole point at the end of part 1 was that he was gonna show the world that he's Boruto Uzumaki, not that he's Sasuke Uchiha. So narratively, I think they made the right choice by having him do this during the time skip, but then do his own thing after the time skip. Bet you never thought I'd have this much to say about Boruto's design on this page. Now the last thing I want to talk about is Orochimaru's hideout. In both translations I've seen for this page, this hideout is described as an old hideout or an abandoned hideout, which certainly fits the appearance of the hideout as it looks very empty. And unfortunately, this means that Orochimaru is probably not there, which really upsets me. I was really clinging to hope that Orochimaru would be involved with Kashin Koji and Boruto shenanigans, and I'm still clinging to hope that he'll get involved somehow, but this page definitely decreases the likeliness of that happening. Unless Orochimaru, Lug, Soigetsu, Karin, or Jugo decided to visit one of the old hideouts and stumbled upon Boruto and Koji later on, which is fine by me. I'll take what I can get. But under the assumption that Orochimaru won't get involved in Two Blue Vortex, or at least won't get involved in any manner pertaining to Boruto and Koji in this hideout, this just feels so mean to the fans, like they're trying to crush our hopes and piss us off. Why even use Orochimaru's hideout if Orochimaru or the hideout won't actually be relevant in any way? There's no reason to, apart from getting the fans hyped up in chapter 9 because they think Orochimaru might finally appear in the Boruto manga, but then that means you really disappoint the fans when they realize this was never actually gonna happen, which is just mean. Just use any other random place at that point. The stinking Steam Toad Laboratory would have worked fine. It's not like anyone else knows where that is besides Amato, who thinks Koji is dead anyway, so it's not like he's gonna be roaming around there for anything. Of course, this is only a hypothetical, and obviously it hasn't been confirmed that Orochimaru will never appear directly in Two Blue Vortex, but it does make me worry. But I'm still gonna cling to hope despite that, just like the situation with Hidari. I'm gonna cling to hope that Hidari will come back until I see him undoubtedly gone for good, and similarly, I'm gonna keep clinging to hope that Orochimaru gets involved in Two Blue Vortex until the manga ends and it's too late at that point. Hopefully my wish comes true, but I want to hear what you guys think. What do you guys think about Kashin Koji searching for Boruto? Why do you think he sought Boruto out specifically? Do you think he thinks of Boruto as Boruto Uzumaki, the son of Naruto, or as Boruto from Kara, Jigen's former vessel? What do you think about Kashin Koji's toads being scientific ninja tools? Do you think the big giant steam toad is also an artificial tool? Or do you think that one is actually a real toad? How do you think Koji actually controls his toads with his chakra? Do you think these toads all come from the Flaming Mountains or somewhere else? Or what do you think about Boruto's Uchiha style design in this flashback? And what do you think about the Orochimaru hideout situation? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.